Welcome to Unity Know-How. My name is Sajid Ansari, and we're going to be covering how to create a basic money system within Unity 3D. In this tutorial, we'll create a script that allows the player to add and subtract money from their inventory, as well as display the money on using the new Unity 4.6 UI interface. To begin with, we need to first create our basic scene. So for this, all we're really going to need is a main camera. So if you start a new scene, this is what you're going to see for the most part. It's our default camera that starts with Unity 3D. And for right now, we're not going to add a player or anything like that. So we're going to jump right into the coding. So in my money tutorial folder, this can be whatever you name it. This should just be an empty project within Unity. We're going to go create C# script. And we're just going to go ahead and name this money. Now, man, I already have one. Alright, I'm going to call this, I'm going to go ahead and call this player money. Now, let's just double click to open. And I'm using MonoDevelop. You may be using something else, but it should be close to the same. And we're going to be greeted with the basic starting screen for C#. If you're unfamiliar with C#, you need to, for the most part, disregard this. You've got your void start and void update. Void start runs once at the beginning, and void update runs once every frame. So to start off with, the first thing we're going to need is an actual integer for our money. So we need to have we need to have a number that goes up and down and basically represents the amount of money we have. So we're going to go public int money, and basically we're saying we want a public variable that can be changed from outside the script. This is an integer, and we want to call it money. Now, to start off with, let's just give our player 100 money from the beginning. So void start means it's going to do this as soon as the script is run. So we can go ahead and do money equals 100, which is pretty self-explanatory. It takes our money value and it puts it up to 100. So if we go back to Unity and we let our script compile, we can now go ahead and drag it onto our main camera object in the hierarchy, and then click on it. And over here in the inspector, we'll now see the money integer over here. And we can drag it in the inspector, but for right now, we're going to leave it at 0. So going back to MonoDevelop, we now need to create a way for the money to be added and subtracted. Now, the best way for this is to create new methods. Now, methods are what you see here. These things right here. They're basically packages in which you put other bits of code and you can run them just by referencing the name of the method. So we're going to write public void add money. And then before I go any further, I just want to explain. Public means that we can call this, we can do whatever's inside of here from outside of the script, so it's public. Void means that it doesn't return a value, and add money is our name. Inside here is where the arguments go, and arguments are numbers that can be passed to the method that allow for customization when you're running the script. So basically, we want to be able to run add money and tell it how much money we want to add. So we're going to type int and then money to add. So basically, this is the amount of money that we're going to be adding each time this is run. And inside we will run it. And we're going to put an if statement. So if, actually we don't need an if statement for this. We're just going to go straight ahead and say money plus equals money to add. Now what this does is it takes our money number, which is up here, don't forget, and plus equals means it adds whatever this value is, it adds it to this on top of what's already there. If we were to take out the plus and just say equals, it would make it so that money, whatever this value is, gets changed to this number so they're the same. By adding the plus, it allows us to only add the money to what we already have, so that we don't get, the number doesn't change, it just goes up. So if we save this and we go back to Unity, we're going to notice that nothing happens. We get no errors, but running our game, nothing's going to happen. Money is set to 100, just like we set it to in void start, but nothing happens. So now we need to create another method, but for subtracting money. So we're going to do the same thing as we did up here and say public void, but we're going to put subtract money. And then we need to also have an argument, but instead of saying money to add, we're going to say money to subtract, because we need to tell it how much money to take away. So int money to subtract, excuse me. And inside, this time around, we actually need to check something. We need to make sure that when we do our subtraction, we do not go into negative numbers, because we can't have our player having negative money. So in order to do this, we're going to have an if statement inside the public void subtract money. And we're going to check if, when we do our subtraction, if we have more than $0 left. So if money minus money to subtract is less than or equal to 0. And what this means is if we do our subtraction, if we take away this money and we have less than 0, actually we probably just want to make this less than 0, and we have less than $0 left, then we can't do the operation. So inside, we basically want it to do nothing. But instead of just leaving it blank, we're going to go ahead and put debug.log, which basically prints something to the console of Unity. So if we go back to Unity real quick, we'll see that over here there's a console. Now ignore this because we're still writing our code, but normally when you're running your script, once you actually play the game itself, you'll see all of anything you put in a debug.log, if it runs, it will get pasted here. So going back to our script, we're just going to type in what we want it to say. So we don't have enough money. Now, as for right now, everything looks good, but we need to make sure, we need to actually tell it what to do if we do have enough money. So we're going to create another if statement, or actually, you know what, we're going to create an else statement. And what an else statement does is it always comes after an if statement, and if statement runs as false, so if this is not true, so basically if we subtract and we don't have less than 0, then we run whatever's in here. So we're going to type else, and inside the else statement, we're going to actually do our subtraction, excuse me. So we're going to go money, and we're going to do the same thing that we did up here, except the opposite. We're going to say money, instead of plus equals, we're going to say minus equals. And what this is going to do is it's going to be the exact opposite. Instead of just making it equal to the amount we're subtracting, we're going to actually subtract it. So we're going to say minus equals, and then money to subtract. Now, everything should be working fine now, but we'll go back to Unity and make sure we don't have any errors. And we should be good to go. But as said before, you'll notice that we still don't actually have anything happening when we play the game. So to fix this, we're actually going to create another script. And what this script is going to do is it's just going to simply test out this system. And it's going to, when we click our mouse buttons left and right, it's going to either add or subtract. So let's go ahead to our project folder and go create another C# script. And we'll just name this, what should we name it? Oops. Hold on a second. We're going to name this add reduce money, because we want it to both add and reduce money. I did this again. I'm going to have to create a new one. I'm going to call mine add reduce player money, just so I don't have duplicate names in my inspector. Now what I'm going to do is we're just going to open it up again, and we're going to open it up in MonoDevelop or whatever program you are using, and we're just going to, all of our code here is going to be within the void update, which means it's going to run constantly while the game is running. So in order to do this, we need to get the input from our mouse buttons. And Unity has a built-in function for this. If you go to Edit, Project Settings, Input, and click on it, and then drop down the Axes folder, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of different drop downs here. Now these are all inputs, and they can be used within Unity to basically tell the game when you're hitting certain buttons on your keyboard or mouse or controller or whatever you're using. For our use, we're going to be looking at Fire 1 and Fire 2, the very first two. So Fire 1 and Fire 2 are your left and right mouse buttons respectively. So Fire 1 would be normal click, and Fire 2 would be your right click. So going back to Unity, we need to create a new if statement. So if, and I'll explain this after, I'm just going to type it out for now. If input.get button down Fire 1, and can't actually do anything here right now. Basically what this does is it says if, and then input.get button down, it returns true when the button that's inside here is pressed down. Now for more information on this, I'll have a link to more info on it in the description. But right now we're just going to use it. We don't actually have anything to put in here right now, and I'll explain that later. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and code our right click. So we can just create another if statement. So if input.get button down Fire 2, and then just put that like that. Now, the reason we can't put anything here is because we don't actually have a way to reference this number. So right now this number is in our money script, and there's no way we can really get it out. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to reference this whole entire script from the other one. And to do that, we're going to use, we're actually going to have to create a new variable up top. So we're going to go up here, and I'm just going to type in public, because we want it to be public. I mean, we could do it private, but for the purpose of this tutorial, we'll just make it public. Public game object, because we want it to be a game object, and then we're just going to name it cam, because if you go back to our Unity editor, we'll notice that our actual player for right now is just a camera. So for short, we're going to call it cam. Now, in order for us to get the script that's on cam, we're going to have to go over here. We're going to type in cam.getComponent, and then inside here, we're going to type in money. We're going to type in the name of the script. So the name of the script is, in this case, is actually player money for me. So I'm going to put player money. And then we're going to close off that brace thing. And then we're going to add parentheses. And as you can see here in the little pop-up, it shows public player money, get component player money, parentheses. Now it's just showing that we've filled the requirements for get component. It needs to have the name of the object. In this case, it's our cam game object. And then we have get component, which basically finds a script with the name inside the parentheses on whatever object. So this script finds cam, which will be our camera, and then it looks for a script named player money, and it found it. Now we're just going to do dot add money, so we can just go ahead and straight up call our add money function from the other script. Dot add money, and then if you remember in the other script, we had our argument here. Now this is where we use it. In the parentheses, it says int money to add. Now, if I actually just move this over here, or just forget it for now, we can actually, inside here, we can tell what we want this number to be. So for right now, let's just put 5. And for this one, we'll do the same thing, but we'll subtract. So cam.getComponent, cam.getComponent, player money, parentheses, dot subtract money, and then we can put how much money we want to subtract. So we'll just put 5 for now. Now this is all great, and if we go back to our Unity editor, we'll see on this script, we don't have to actually have to add it to something. So just go ahead and add this to the main camera as well. And over here we'll see add reduce player money. And in our cam thing, we're going to have to drag our main camera over here and add it to the inspector. Once we've done that, we can hit play. And as you'll notice, our money in the corner over here. And if you keep an eye on it, when you click, the number will go up. And when you right click, it'll go back down again. Now you'll also notice if we keep on going down, it will get to a point where we hit 0, and then here's our debug.log. We do not have enough money. And no matter how much we right click, it's not going to take any more because it's not going to let us go into negative. Now this is great, but we're going to want a way to display it on the screen, right? So to do this, we're going to use Unity's new UI system. And to do that, we're going to go up to Game Object, UI. Actually, we're going to have to deselect our camera first. So click this empty space, go to Game Object, UI, Text. Now this will create a big, gigantic text. Now I'm not going to go too much into detail, but basically what this is going to do is this text will show up on our screen in game. So what we can actually do is we can go over to our game tab and just drag it over to compare. And as you can see, our new text over here, it shows up on our actual game. Like relative, this square is where the game is in the world. So you might notice it's kind of gray, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to click on our text again, and where it says color, we're going to just drag it up to white so we can see it a little bit better. Now, what we have to do here is we have to make this number equal our money, and we have to make it update when the money changes. So we're going to go back over to our player money script in MonoDevelop. And what we're going to do is we're going to add another variable up here. But first what we have to do is we have to add something up here. So as you see these two things up here, these will come default with any C# script you write. But there are some functions within Unity that you have to add extra lines up here in order to use them. So the new Unity GUI system is one of those. So we're going to type in using Unity engine .ui, and what this will do is this will let us reference all of these new fancy UI systems in our script. So once we have that, we're free to actually use the UI that we've added. So we're going to create a new variable, and it's going to be a variable of type text. Now what this is this type of object. As you can see in the inspector, it is a text object and it has a text script on it. So Unity will recognize this as a text object, and it'll only accept text objects into this variable. So after that, we can go ahead and type a name for it. So I'm just going to say money text. And now if you see here, once we save, if we go back to our main camera, we're going to see a new slot here, and it's going to say money text. So we can go ahead and drag our text object into this slot, and then go back to our script. Now, what we have to do is we have to make it so that our money is equal to, like, the text here is equal to whatever our money is. If we go to our text object and we look over here, there's a component of our text script called text. Now we can type whatever we want here and it will show up. But for our purposes, we want to have our numbers. So let's say 100, or 105, or 50. So in order to do this, we're going to have to go back to our script. And within our script, we need to basically tell our text object, we need to tell that text field to be whatever our money is. So first things first, we're going to need to make it do that right from the start so that our money is updated fresh from the page. So since we already have our money text defined, we can just go straight up and say money text.text. And .text, this right here, this means this over here. This is our .text. So whatever this is whatever is right here. So we're going to say money.text equals, and normally what we could do is we could just type in money, right? it's actually wrong. If we go back to Unity after saving this with money right here, we're going to get an error. It's going to say cannot implicitly convert type int to string. Basically what it means is that this is a character, or like this is a bunch of characters, which is called a string, but it's trying to give it a number instead of a string. So we're going to have to convert it to a string within Unity. This is really easy. All C#, Unity, any use you're going to have with Unity is going to be able to use something called toString. So we're going to type in .toString parentheses. Now this will just take whatever is over here and make it into a string. So right now what we have is our money text is going to equal our money as a string. So if we save it, go back and hit play, you'll notice that our number changes to 100 once we play the game. Now this is great, but if we add or subtract money by clicking, you'll notice that nothing happens. So we have to go back to our script, and we need to make it update every time we add money. So we want it to basically, every time we add money or subtract money, we want to refresh the number on our text. So to do this, we're going to start with add money, and we're just going to make a new line, and we're going to say the same thing as up above. In fact, we can just copy and paste. We want our money text, we just want to basically update however much money we have once we've changed it. Now down here we want to do the same exact thing. We want to make sure that every time a change happens to our money, we want it to be reflected on the text itself. So we're going to go ahead and paste it, and head on back over to Unity. And if we click play, you'll notice that when we click, the number goes up, and when we right click, the number goes down. Now, although obviously in a real game you don't want to have this click method, we're going to go ahead and change that, but we're going to do it in a later video. For now, the best thing for you to understand is how to change this number from other scripts. So if we for example, let's say we have an enemy and we kill it. Inside the enemy script, when it dies, we can do the same thing that we did over here. Say cam.getComponentPlayerMoney.add money, and we can give our player money. And in this script, we'll make sure that it's all updated for when we want it to appear on our menu here. So this could be your money counter in the corner, and it could just be in your game and keep you updated on how much money your player has. That's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and this will be concluded in the second part. Thank you.